Welcome in, everyone. We're at St. Pat's on 46th Street, and it is Pints Before Playoffs, all brought to you by our good friends Heineken. Thank you, Heineken, for bringing myself alongside the boss, Nick Cushing, together ahead of the playoffs before we get started. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to the team. I'm sure it's a good feeling now you're in the playoffs, huh?
Yeah, of course. I think the end of the season, you're trying to get yourself clinched so that you can then start to prepare for the playoffs, which is always going to be that real important period. And the moment you get clinched, then you can start to look forwards.
It's a great feeling once you're clinched. It's a great feeling that you also have that home field advantage going into the playoffs. But for you personally, it's been a bit of a roller coaster year. I mean, let's go back to it. You lose Ronnie, you lose Tati. I mean, these are personal relationships to you. So emotionally, how have you handled that? Plus, oh, by the way, now you're the man in charge.
Yeah, of course. I think losing the coach, I'm assistant coach under a guy that had a huge effect on me. I had a really close relationship with, I really, really enjoyed working with. But I think, it's football and these things happen, and you get the call that you're going to go interim coach, and, the aims and the objectives are still exactly the same. And, it's a huge opportunity for me. So for me, it was one where I just wanted to look forwards and concentrate. I know the expectation of this organisation, so it was one where I just wanted to get my head down and get stuck into it.
Yeah, but Nick, that's not what I'm looking for here. I want to get the deep, dark secrets from you because this is your game. You live and breathe football. I can tell that you love this game with a complete passion, and yet you get the opportunity to be the head coach of this football club. And middle of the season, it's hard to take over a team and a club that's doing so well. So emotionally, it must have been difficult for you to transition from, oh, by the way, I'm the assistant coach, I'm your mate. But now I'm the one who's got to pick the players. I'm the one who's got to let players down. I'm the one who's pretty much everyone's going to knock at my door if they're not happy with. So that's a difficult one for you, though, to go from that transition assistant to head man.
Yeah, if I'm really honest, I was a head coach before I came here within the organisation. And personally, I found it more difficult transitioning from a head coach into being an assistant than I did going back to being a head coach, because I'd been in that flow of making the decisions and, handling the pressure and trying to build the culture and the team and the tactics, and all of those things were all lined up. And then I come here and I had to really learn to work with somebody and for somebody. And I think in 2020, the first season, it was a transitional period for me to learn how to work with Ronnie and for Ronnie. Really enjoyed 2021 because I think we really built that cohesion and that chemistry between the two of us. And you were right, in that initial period when you get the phone call, there is an adjustment period, and I'm really lucky in the staff that I have with Rob Vartugian and Mehdi Bellucci, and those guys really helped me in that initial period. I think the key thing was be consistent. Don't go changing and chopping things, just keep it consistent. And I think we did a good job of that.
Yeah, let's cheers to 2021, by the way, before we move on to 2022. All right, let's go back, because before we touch upon this season, which I want to get into the deep, dark secrets of this season, which has been successful up to this point, I want to know about the success of last season, because that must have been a special feeling for you personally to have been involved in that championship run, but also to have learned, watching Ronnie do his thing, but be a big part of the coaching staff all the way through the downs, but also the ups. And then eventually you get to lift an MLS Cup and have yourself a championship ring. Emotionally, passionately, I mean, it's a pretty special moment for you.
Yeah, by far the highlight of my coaching career. Because I think when I came here in 2020, and Ronnie the same, there's an adaptation period of learning the league, developing relationships, and actually tactics play a really small part, although you have to get those parts right. Yeah. You have to get the culture and the team right, and you have lots of players from different countries, different cultures, and you get all those challenges and bumps along the way. I think 2020 was a really good year for adapting. And 2021, when we started in pre-season, we had a real desire to be successful. The staff was all on one page, all working in the same direction. I think one thing Ronnie did incredibly well is he recognised the strengths of our staff, and he guided us in a way where he drew out all of our strengths, whether it be myself coaching, whether it be Ephra, his ability to manage the locker room and manage the guys and use his experience in how he played within the league and around the world. We had Rob and Mehdi, who had played in the league and coached in the league. And I just think the staff alone, we found a real balance between ourselves. We started pre-season and we just hit the ground running. And although we had bumps in the road along the way, I think the foundation was really set in that pre-season of 2021.
Tell us about the song.
We are the Pigeons, and we won MLS
I think I found myself in a really good place with the team in the sense of I did a lot of the coaching, I did a lot of the tactical work, and a lot of Ronnie was really smart, and I'm really grateful because he made me the head coach underneath him. I did a lot of the team meetings. So apart from picking the team and making the big decisions, which Ronnie did incredibly well, I was in a place with the team where I was close to them. And when we won, I watch a lot of English football, and my brother-in-law is a die-hard Liverpool fan, and it's a song that they sing on their terrace. And when we won, I said to him, I'm going to rewrite the song because he sings it all the time to me. And we performed it in pre-season for the players, and they filmed it. And if I'd known I was going to be head coach 6 months later, I probably wouldn't have written a song and sung it.
It went viral pretty quickly, and I must admit I absolutely loved it. Personally, it meant a lot to me to see how close you were, because that was a big point. I mean, the social media and the media team behind New York City Football Club do a great job of showing the family, the network of family of people behind the scenes that make this work as a team to be successful, because it takes more than players to have success in a football club. I want to start upon this season, because coming in after a championship winning campaign, I can't imagine it's easy in pre-season. I can't imagine it's easy when you think how long this season has been. In an unusual pre-season, you're playing games in California. Pre-season's always going to be difficult when it's a shorter campaign as well. But what was the priorities coming into this campaign, trying to get the guys' minds switched back on from lifting a trophy, here's your championship ring, oh, by the way, please go do it again for us?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the winning was incredible, but the reaction to that is you don't get enough rest. We had a really short rest period. We literally got 3 weeks from MLS Cup final to coming back for pre-season. We had a huge desire to be successful in the Champions League. As a coaching staff, we sat down and we tried to plan out what we thought would be our realistic objectives. And of course, being MLS Cup champions, you want to repeat that. We wanted to do well in the Supporters' Shield. We wanted to push hard, but first and foremost, it was Champions League that we felt we could compete in. The trade-off for that is, historically, you look at the reaction to teams that go far in Champions League, and this season is another great example of that.
Yep.
It meant that we did a lot of travel in pre-season. Our pre-season was crazy. We went from Florida to Mexico, from Mexico to Costa Rica, from Costa Rica to back to New York. Then from New York, we went to LA to Vancouver to Guadalajara. It's so crazy. We were everywhere. And I actually think by the time we played our first game, we were probably 6 weeks ahead of every other team in the sense of how much training time we'd had, how much playing time we'd had, and the amount of really competitive fixtures that we'd played. But we got ourselves to the Champions League semi-final. We were disappointed in that first leg. It really gave us too much to do in the second leg. But we were proud of getting to the semi-finals, and it gives us a marker for if we are lucky enough to get back in Champions League, it gives us a marker to go one step further.
It's always interesting to me when you go through a season that you have these rumours that start to appear in the media. Social media now plays such a big role. I mean, everyone out there, I'm sure, enjoying this, plays a big role in social media too. But the rumours started to happen. But what was it like for you personally when those rumours turned out to be true and your phone starts ringing and, oh, by the way, Nick, we'd like you to step in and be interim boss of the team between now and the end of the season? I mean, that not only is a mark of respect for who you are as an individual, but also as a coach to be given the keys to all of this, the MLS champions of 2021, and we want to try and do it again. You get that phone call, what's going through your mind?
It's a proud moment because I've worked for this organisation now. This is my 17th season here, and to get a phone call off Brian Marwood and David Lee to say, Ronnie's decided he's going to move on and we'd like you to take the team for the rest of the season. Really proud in that moment because New York City is a massive football team. It's a really, really important football team within our organisation. One that I've followed since 2015, one that I'd had, I always had one eye on the team because I remember when the team was formed and how the likes of Brian Marwood and Ferran Soriano had really, involved Manchester. I was there and we watched the first game. I actually have on my social media a picture of my son watching the first game as he must have been 4 years old maybe, sitting in my wife's parents' house on an actual MLS ball. The team did their first pre-season in Manchester and I pinched one of the balls. And he's sitting on the ball, it's on my Instagram, he's sitting on the ball watching the game and I put, good luck to New York City in their first game. And so crazy that in 2022, I'm actually getting a phone call to take the team. But I also think in that moment, you have to almost flip into default. It's an opportunity. I've prepared myself for this opportunity over the last 10 years in the tactical and technical side of the game. I've been really fortunate within the organisation to work with some incredible experience. And I came here as a head coach, learning to develop, to become a better head coach in the future, although I was not in any rush to do it. And I was enjoying my tenure as an assistant coach and literally learning every day. The phone call comes and you have to think, okay, these are the objectives, this is where the team is, and it's my responsibility now to continue that.
Football's difficult sometimes. It can bring you this roller coaster of emotions and also a roller coaster of luck, fortune, and unfortunately, there was that stage in the season when it seemed like everything was kind of working against you. It was international call-ups, it was injuries, it was misfortunate incidents in games, it was mistakes, and mistakes by key players, lack of form sometimes by key players. It all sort of happened at the same time for you, and we're all looking around thinking, why is this happening? I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I remained calm and obviously continued to support and believe. And eventually it did come right. But that difficult time in football, and it is football, it happens pretty much everywhere in football, that must have been tough for you when you'd just taken over and then all of a sudden all these things are working against you, or you feel like they're working against you.
Yeah, I think initially, when I took the role, I wanted to keep things consistent. I think the best thing is to keep everything consistent. Don't change a lot. Keep the training program the same. Keep the tactics the same. I had full belief in the way that we worked, and myself and Ronnie and Ephra and Rob and Mehdi, and we all was working as one. And we didn't get the first win. We drew, and then we kept drawing. And in the end, I think there was an element of I had to step outside and think, right, you've got to do this your way, and you've got to put your stamp on it. I think we won in the game in New England, and it was a bit of relief because we got the win, although I always believed we got the win. I think the Dallas game was the first step. That week, I come away from New England and I thought, come on, you just got to do it your way now. This is how you have worked. We changed the system. We went 3 at the back. We applied the tactics that I felt would beat Dallas. We get the win. Then you start to grow in belief, and then you get the win against Red Bull away, and then you start to think, we're really catching a bit of momentum here. And then you start to get the injuries. I mean, you look along the way, we lost Thiago Martins in the Colorado game to a really unfortunate ankle injury. 3 days before, we lost Keaton Park to a repeat of the injury that he had last season, and you start to think, well, there's 2. And then we go on, and then we lose. I think Tati got 5 yellow cards, and we missed him. We went to Dallas without Maxi Morales and without Tati. And they just started to snowball, and you start to get the injuries and the suspensions. And every week there was another. Then we went to Cincinnati and we're 3-0 down after 20 minutes. And start to think, these are just coming at you. And one thing you have to do, I think, in those moments is you have to stay logical. Don't let emotion overtake. And you have to think, okay, this is the plan. This is how we're going to win. This is how we're going to play. rely on the experience in the locker room and the experienced guys to continue to support the younger guys who may not have gone through these moments. And you just have to guide the team, I think, in those moments. And if a difficult moment comes, that's when you have to. I'm a believer that you have to allow the team to guide itself and allow the experience to use that experience in those moments. But at some point, you have to lead from the front. And there's been those moments this season where you've got to stand up at the front and you've got to really drive the team, because as head coach, they're looking at you like this. Yeah. And believe that you're going to come out the other side of it. And I think once the performances start to pick up, even though the results didn't come, and we had crazy things like the own goals and the mistakes at Columbus and the mistake at Miami, and I think at the end of the season I'll look back at it and think, I don't think anything else could have happened to us. But one thing I'll say again, I have a lot of support outside of the team with the senior leaders within the group. I'm really lucky that I work for some incredible people. And in the locker room, I looked around and I could see belief in the eyes of the players.
During those difficult times, you see and hear a lot of noise. And this is New York City. And it is a proud city for their sports. It's certainly a passionate city for their support for their sports teams, including football. I mean, this football club is well supported and the people really get behind the team. They don't like losing games. And they certainly don't mind sharing their feelings, and including the media as well, which is not easy to deal with. How difficult was that for you when things weren't going well and you felt like, can't believe this, like one thing after the next, and then all of a sudden the media's asking these bizarre and crazy questions into your direction? Is that tough to deal with for you as a head coach?
It is, because there's an element of me that is one of them. I support the team. I want the team to win. Although I am the head coach, I bear the responsibility of the expectation of our fans and our organisation, and I put that expectation on myself. If I didn't believe that I could be successful as the head coach and with our team for our fans, I wouldn't have taken the job. I said to the sporting director, to David, I said, when he gave me the role, I'll know in 5 days whether this has legs. And I would have been honest. And if I looked into the players' eyes and it wasn't me and there wasn't that respect and there wasn't that support, I would have been honest and said, no, for the good of the club, we need somebody else and I will remain as assistant. But I knew that I had belief that we can be successful. It's frustrating when you feel it's a little bit unfair, when everyone deserves an opinion. And the game, this is why it's the best sport in the world for me, because opinions drive the passion and the emotion in the game. But there's certain things when I look and I think after the game, I think, I don't agree with that. But at the same time, you have to allow people to have their opinions. I have my opinions on the game as well.
Oh, trust me, in the booth, it was certainly entertaining at times, and there was a few bleeps in the booth as well. For me, it was difficult at times because you live and breathe this football club, and the passion is in your blood, and that's what I live for, and I can see that that's what you live for as well. But then you have this success, and you lift a trophy, and then you beat your nearest rival. That's, in many ways, what means more to the supporters than anything else, is when you beat your local rival in a derby game. But lifting a trophy is what is in City Football Group's DNA. And it's in New York City Football Club's DNA now, after last season and this season, a chance to lift another trophy. That must have been just brilliant for you, but what did it mean for the group together? Because I can't even begin to imagine what your chat was like with the boys once you got back into the locker room after that.
The one thing about this football club, and this is why I really love our organisation, and in particular here, I love this club because we really work at our best when we're really pushed into a corner. And I've had so many of these moments here, and then we have the cup final, and not only is it a trophy, it was a trophy, and I knew I could see in the players' eyes they had a huge desire to win that trophy. But we played Pumas last year and we played really well, and we lost on penalties, and we played Tigres in 2020, and they beat us well. They were a better team than us. There was a huge desire to win that Atlas game, and at Yankee Stadium to lift the trophy in front of our fans is that opportunity. You could feel it in the locker room. As a head coach, you think, my words are really important today. I'm going to make sure that I get it right, and you think through where you're going to get the impact. I didn't have to speak on that day. You could feel it when you went into the dressing room. There was a real energy in the dressing room, and I think as the head coach, you just, like I said, sometimes you got to lead from the front. Sometimes you just got to open the door and let them go. And it was one of them games where, you set the tactics up, you say the game plan, and on game day, you just open the locker room door and let them go. And I was really proud of that performance. And I think the good thing for us, when we're wedged into a corner, 2 days later, you put us against Red Bull, and they've had a rest in midweek, and we lost at Yankee Stadium last year, and it was a painful one. There was a huge desire for us to win that game again, and you could feel it. It's no coincidence that in both games we scored within the first 3-4 minutes of the game, and it's just because the players were ready to go.
My father always says that things happen for a reason. And all of a sudden you have this turning point in a season, and football's like that. Like I said so many times during this conversation, it's a roller coaster. You have to take the good with the bad, and we learn from experiences, sometimes bad experiences, and we become better. Now you're in charge of this football club, and that to me sensed like it was a turning point because of what I was witnessing with the celebration with the players, the togetherness. It was similar to the celebrations I witnessed after MLS Cup in Portland. The togetherness, everyone was all in it for one, including the supporters. Now I feel like the turning point has already come and gone, and the supporters are behind you now. They're behind you, they believe in you, they believe in this football team, they believe in the players. What would your message be to those fans who are out there who are so excited for the playoffs coming up? What would your message be for those guys out there now getting ready to maybe witness another magical run?
I think it's simple. I think we need you. I think if you look at our greatest performances, our big games, those games that we all remember, and those big moments, they've always involved the fans, and they've always involved the incredible atmosphere and us celebrating with the fans. And one thing I felt this year, and I said this after one of the games, I think it was the Toronto game, the 5-4 game. And it was a difficult ending to that game because we were clear, and then all of a sudden they go 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. That was the first moment that I really felt that the fans dragged us over the line. And we needed the fans in that moment because it's so easy to go 5-5 there, and then that really destroys that momentum that you have. MLS Cup final, I look back at Thiago's goal at Red Bull Arena against DC last year, the celebrations in the corner with all the staff and the fans, and those moments are they're addictive, and those moments I think are why we are all involved, whether we're fans or coaches or players. Those moments are, like even now I think through them and I think, they're just amazing moments, and they happen because of the fans. The fans drive us into those moments, and then we celebrate together. I really believe there's more of those moments. I think through last year, Telles Magno's goal at Philadelphia, we had in the corner, they put our fans up in the corner there, and we celebrated really hard after we'd won that Eastern Conference final. And there's more of those moments, and we need you. Come support us. If it's a difficult moment, drive us on and push us over the line. And when we get over the line, we'll come and celebrate with you. And there was a group of fans 10 days ago came to the training facility, and I went out to them and just, said, thank you for supporting us. And the guy said, it was the day after the Campeones Cup. They said, go and get the trophy, bring it out. So I goes in, and the kit man had packed it away, and I got the trophy out and I took it out. And there's special moments. We have incredible fans, and like I say, we need you, and stay with us and keep pushing us.
Nick, cheers to you. Cheers
you.
to the playoffs. A big thank you to Heineken as well for making this happen. Another Pints Before Playoffs. And let's hope the next time we cheers to a Heineken and Pints Before Playoffs, it's with a second star above the badge. We appreciate you. Thanks so much. Cheers.